This is Robert Clotworthy, the narrator of The Curse of Oak Island, and I have a question for you. Could it be that you are listening to The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream?
This is a top pocket find, mate, for sure.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream. I am your host, Jeff Freeman, and tonight we have Jack Campbell back on. Hey Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Jeff.
And we have, oops, I guess I didn't click on.
Oh, we lost John. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
He's back.
Tom Burns and John Edwards. Thanks guys for being here tonight. What's the weather like up there? It's going to be heading my way there, Jack. What do you got going on?
We got a day of sun. We got a day of rain. That's about what it's been.
Yeah.
We've been 50 degrees. We have not hit 60 in quite a while again now. So.
Well, whatever you're getting now, it's what's coming my way. So that I think it's actually raining right now. They said we might get a little.
We had rain all day to right before I came in here to, put on the computer. Then the sun comes out, and I have to turn the curtains, my dark curtains over, of course. So.
Yep. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, there you go. So, and then whatever passes through here, I guess, is on the way to John, and then maybe all the way up to hit you. I don't know if it makes it up if it goes up it heads north a little bit to get to New Brunswick, but
It'll get here sooner or later. We usually get it 24 to 36 hours later.
Yeah.
It's beautiful and sunny here today. Probably one of the nicest days we've had, like 15 degrees Celsius here today.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, we got a good crew popping in here tonight, and let's see who we got. Oh man, we got quite a few people. Of course, we have Linda and Jan out there working in the chat tonight. Appreciate you guys and all the hard work you do. And again, thank you, Jan, for the good synopsis. You do such a wonderful job on these, and we really appreciate your hard work.
I see Dale Kearney's out here with us tonight.
Yeah, Dale Kearney. April's here. Jeff's in the house. Let's see. Gail's here. Janet. Hi, Janet. Jack Ledger's here.
Henry's with us tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Henry.
Michelle Gibson, Karen, Catherine,
Court's here.
Court Lindahl. Hey, Court. Almost
Darlene.
90, he said. It's almost 90 in Chico, California.
What? Wow. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I don't know.
As long as it's that high humidity, I could take 90.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, it's not that humid there either, I don't think.
You Sharon Irving Thompson over in Maine. Like probably a nice warm day over there today too.
Oh yeah. Yep. Let's see. So, and over here on the other side, who we got over here? Let's see. I know who was some of the first people in tonight. I think $Sand Ray was the first one in, then the Jersey lady. Let's see. $Sand jumped right in there early. As soon as I opened it up, he was there. Let's see. So I'm glad you guys are here tonight. Appreciate it. Kate's here. Amy is here. Hi, Amy. Seth Bound, Jim Barlow. Indy's Antics. Oh, gosh. AO is here. And let's see. Oh, my goodness. Quite a few people. Bass Anderson's here. Linda's here.
Court says wait till it hits 120. If it hits 120 in New Brunswick, something's on fire.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Hey, also, as you guys hear Colin say quite often when Colin's in the house with us here, he says to put your name on there and let us know where you're from. So we got one that says, hello from Ontario. Hello, Jack. Who was this? So this was Elizabeth. No, yeah. Nope, that was Elizabeth said hi, but let's see. Who else? Oh, that was Henry. Henry DeWitt. Hey, Henry, how you doing? All right.
A lot of hello, Jacks.
Chris Harrigan. Yeah, a lot of hello, Jacks. You've been missing you, Jack. There's Frank.
I think we have a birthday today with Carmen. I think we should say happy
Carmen
birthday.
Legg. Happy birthday to Carmen Legg. Absolutely. Yeah, that was neat. Yeah, we like to give a shout out, happy birthday shout out to the guests that we've had on the show when we know their birthday. So, but yeah, happy birthday to Carmen Legg. And he'll be coming back on the show. Actually, let me look at my calendar real quick if I can eyeball over here and see when it is. I always have to look.
It says here he's all moved in now, so he's got no excuse.
Yeah. May 7th. Tom and I will be hosting Carmen Legg. So May 7th.
Wow.
We have Carmen coming on. And real quick, too, I wanted to say that please, if you're on here watching from the YouTube side, click on that subscribe button for us. It really helps out a lot. The more subscribers that we get. And, the chat is always good and all that, but give us a thumbs up. See, YouTube uses this algorithm where it looks at the thumbs up you get versus the thumbs down. And it also looks at the number of chat messages you get, during the show and after. And the more you get, the more that we really want the show to get spread out to a lot more people out there, because there's 2 or 3 million people that watch The Curse of Oak Island, and we have a good crowd. And I'm not complaining about how many people we get, but we'd like to get the word out of our show to more people. Well, to get YouTube to do that, you have to get more chat messages and you got to get more likes. So that's why if you like the content of the show, give a thumbs up. If you don't, well, you can give a thumbs down, I suppose, but that always helps. It helps us to get the word out. Hey, we have a show here and you might enjoy it. So come and join us. So that's what that's all about.
Did we mention that Tony? Yeah, Tony's here. Yeah, sorry about that, Jack. Didn't mean to talk over you.
No, I'm sorry.
Who's that? Tony Sampson? Oh,
Tony
there he is.
Sampson.
Hey,
Right,
Tony,
I'm
how you
sure.
doing? Yeah, Tony was on Could It Be Oak Island podcast last night with Deidre and Dustin. I was watching that. That was pretty cool. We got to look at the side of his face for quite a while.
Get the profile shot.
Yeah,
The money
profile shot, side of his face. I know it was because he could hardly hear because he was driving with Ryan. He was in the that's one of his skippers, I guess, is Ryan. And they were driving down the road when he was on the show with Dustin and Deidre. And of course, he was trying to hear what was going on over the road noise. But that was cool. We really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed. I love Tony's going to be on with us again eventually. But he has such great stories, and that was really neat to see or to hear. At least hear you last night. All I saw was an eye and an ear. That was Janet. Yeah, but it was still good to know you were there and hear the stories that you had to share, Tony. That was really cool. So, yeah, we can't wait till you join us here on our show again. I was talking with Maddie Blake a little bit over the last couple of days, and Maddie's going to be coming back as well. We don't have a date just yet. Maddie, I tell you what, that guy is a busy man these days. I got to tell this little story before we get started. I was the other night. I decided to watch a movie as I was, folding clothes and get ready for bed, and so I flipped on, Prime. I think I went to Prime, and I flipped through and I found him. Oh, that looks pretty good, and I clicked on it. Right. So the movie's on. It's a movie called Sender, Sender, Sender. And so I read the description. I thought, yeah, it looks interesting. So I started watching it. Well, I don't know. This was probably 20 minutes into the movie or something like that. And I hear a voice and I look up and I go, that's Maddie Blake. And it was Maddie Blake. And it was a movie that was actually made by his buddy, Tony Arkin, that he does his podcast with, the Rated P for Paranormal. And Tony is a filmmaker, and he had made a movie called Sender. And anyway, so there was Maddie Blake. He was all in a nice suit and everything. I won't tell you. Initially, he was showing this guy to a seat around the pool of this, Mr. Big's house or whatever it was like that. And and then it went on from there, and it went. I mean, it was a good movie, but I mean, yeah, it was. Maddie turned out to be quite the tough guy. I'll leave it at that. But I had to tell Maddie that I saw that. It was kind of neat to watch. And
he does his own radio show in the morning in Boston now too.
Oh, does he really?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I have heard about that. But yeah, so yeah, it was just funny to all of a sudden I'm folding clothes or whatever, and I hear that voice, and I look over at the TV, and there's Maddie Blake, and I'm like, wow, look at that. So, but anyway, his induction into the Fellowship of the Dig, I thought was really, really cool. I know I mentioned this the other day, or last week, but that was really awesome. I thought it was well-deserved.
Yes,
Maddie, we get to see the excitement of Oak Island through his eyes, and you see how excited he is about it. And he really choked up during that part where he was asked to be part of the Fellowship of the Dig. So I thought that was really neat. Well-deserved. So congratulations to Maddie Blake for that.
We see so much background from him of what we wouldn't see.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He shares so much that it's really cool for that.
Yeah, I see Jeff from Anchor Tours is here, and Donna McCauley's here with us now too.
Donna, hey Donna McCauley. Yeah, Donna McCauley. Who else did you say? I'm sorry.
Jeff at Anchor Tours.
Oh, yep.
Hey,
Jeff Babineau
Jeff.
from Anchor Tours. He's been co-hosting with us, so we're really proud glad to have him, and he's going to be working with Tony Sampson as well. So Jeff, is really cool to have you as a co-host. Appreciate it. And I think Tony would make a good co-host, don't you think? Tony
I think
Sampson?
he'd be amazing.
Oh,
He'd be amazing.
definitely.
Wow, that would be
Tony can have his
fantastic.
own show. He can do his own show.
Personality plus.
I know, Jeff, when you and me did him, he just went on and on.
Oh, it was great. I just loved it. Yeah. Anyway, so you did, yeah. Robert Clotworthy has been in some shows too. Who said that? Michelle. Yeah, yes, he has. But Donna McCauley, thanks for coming by tonight. We really like that. And when people that we've had on the show and the people that have been on Oak Island and beyond Oak Island, shows like that, we really appreciate. That was a great show we had with Donna and Gypsy. That was a lot of fun, and that's been the lot of fun that Tom and I've been having with Beyond Oak Island, is to have on the guests that have been on the show. And then they come in to help us to talk about the particular show they were on. It's been really great. It really has. Such wonderful people, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Yeah, in all my free time. You don't have any free time, Tony. Tony does not have free time. Even to do the show last night, he was going down the road in a car, so he doesn't have free time. But we'll get you on. Sooner or later. So, and I did want to say real quick too, that we got 2 shows coming up, or we have the next show on this Saturday. We are going to have it's called My Oak Island Tours, and it's with Tom and I, and we have 6 different people that have had Oak Island tours, maybe more than one, and maybe even a tour with Tony on Salty Dog Sea Tours. They have shared, they're going to come on, they're going to share, they've sent me a bunch of pictures. We got a lot of, I love pictures. So we got a lot of pictures and some little movie clips or video clips to show, but we're going to have little segments. Everybody gets about 45 or I think 40 minutes. And we're going to go through and they're going to tell us all about their tour on Oak Island or with Tony and Salty Dog Sea Tours. So we're going to get to see it through their eyes and they're going to explain it to us. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's Saturday at 2:00. And we got 6 different people with their pictures and everything. It's going to be great. Tom and I are going to have a lot of fun. It may go longer because, we try to limit everything to 2 hours, but yeah, then I talk too much. So yeah. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. Have we put the names out? I don't know if we put the names out.
The names are out, but
of who's going to be on. Okay.
Yeah.
I know Shannon Public Cover is going to be one of them, and Donna said I'm waiting to go to Oak Island. Oh, I bet. Yeah. I know you'd be doing great getting out there with your Garrett metal detector and going to town on that place. I know I would.
I'm so sad about this. And that was bad news today.
What's that?
Cat Photo says I'm so sad about this, but they aren't going to do tours this year.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I was just blown away by that. Oh my goodness.
Well, for those people that missed the tour, they can take the virtual tour this Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. And then on the 10th, I'm going to just throw that out there. It's not Oak Island related at all. But we are well.
That's clear.
We might talk about Oak Island briefly. But John Edwards and I do a show called Beyond Our World, and Sunday at 7:00. We're going to be doing this is UFOs, UAPs, and paranormal stuff like that. This particular show that we're going to be doing is we're going to have 2 guests on. The first guest is going to be Linda just sent me their names. I'll go through their names real quick. But the first guest we're going to have on, we're going to be talking about the Shag Harbor UFO incident. We had a lot of viewers told us you guys need to cover this and talk about it, so we are. And we're having an eyewitness from the show, from an eyewitness from this whole time.
Yes.
1967 UFO crash in Shag Harbor, and Lori. Why am I stumbling with his name all of a sudden? Wickens. Lori Wickens is going to be on the show with us. He was there. He saw this. He witnessed this whole thing. He's going to be on the show. He's going to tell us all about it. And what's he got? A society? He's
the Shag Harbor Society president. He's the president of the Shag Harbor Society.
So he's going to be on the show sharing his experiences with us about Shag Harbor UFO incident.
Yep.
And then in the second hour, we're going to have on a guy who's been on the show before with us, and he was on the very first episode of Beyond Oak Island, and that is Christian Roper. And Christian is out in Guatemala right now, and he had a UFO experience and got some video, and he's going to share that with us. He's going to come on, talk about that, what he's doing out there in Guatemala, and share this UFO footage with us. So Sunday at 7:00,
Yep.
Beyond Our World, John and I will be doing this one. We're going to have a lot of fun. The Shag Harbor UFO incident and Christian Roper. So we're looking
And
forward to
maybe some information on his filming
Yes.
at the place at Skinwalker, near Skinwalker, right next to
Yes.
Skinwalker.
Yes.
So-
Yes.
and we can
Skinwalker.
ask
We're
him-
going to drop that and just leave that
Yes.
as a cliffhanger.
That we'll just say that, and I'm dying to know what he's going to be doing, and but I know he's going to be in the Skinwalker Ranch area this summer.
Yep.
And we'll just leave it at that.
Yep. That's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, all right.
Yep.
So let's move on back to Oak Island stuff. All right. So yeah, the tours this weekend is going to be Susan, Michelle, Cindy, Shannon, Denise, and Stephanie.
Wow.
I'm glad she just gave me their first names because I kind of have a tendency to botch last names to a degree. So anyway, so looking forward to shows this week. All right. Woo, a lot to be said. And if you like, if you want to help support the show, we got our Patreon channel, jfree906 at patreon.com. And we love and appreciate all of our patrons very, very much. Okay, so Oak Island, season 9, episode 21, a lot of secrets. And of course, we heard that, and I love how they play with these names, but we got a lot. So we figured, okay, it must have something to do with one of the lots, and which one have they been dealing with lately? It was lot 8. So sure enough, that's where they were. So we'll get to that as we go along here. And I'm going to start with some pictures. All right. So there we go with the wide shot of the Money Pit area, the whole eastern side of the island of Oak Island. Showing the Money Pit in all of its glory. Hey, Malcolm's here. So, anyway, the guys right off the bat, we jump in. There's all of them watching. It's funny because every time that the hammer grab comes out of the caisson, all the eyes look up and they're all on that.
It's like they're all in unison.
Yeah, they're all in unison watching that hammer grab come out of there. And of course, they're looking to see what's hanging out of the hammer grab, wood or, metal or something, a chest, the Ark of the Covenant, something hanging out of that thing as they pull it. But as I said, if they get the Ark of the Covenant, there's going to be, I think the whole world would know pretty quickly. Jeff should break out the card. Only if Henry's
I
on
forget
it.
how wide the Ark of the Covenant was.
It was two cubits by 4 cubits, or 2 by 4 basically. So it was 2 wide, or 2 wide, or 4 wide by 2 deep, and 2 high. I think something like that. So, yeah, they're all standing by size, aren't they? I hadn't noticed that before. That's
Family
funny.
photo.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that. That's pretty funny, Janet. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I hadn't even caught that. And Jack, you made a comment earlier about some of the younger folks.
I just think we have really seen them step up their game this year.
Mhm.
Marty especially has really become more involved as the show's gone along.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Fernandez now back on the island more, they have great insights. So
They
I
do.
think it's been a real plus for the show this year.
Yeah, they really do. You see David Fernandes talking about stuff, and Alex, of course, has been very vocal and getting out there and talking about things and giving his opinions and kind of leading some of the stuff that's going on. And I think that's great. I really do.
They've really done their homework.
Yes, they have. Absolutely. This picture here shows the caisson going down and hitting the top of what they're calling the chapel shaft, or the chapel vault, sorry, that they believe is encased in concrete. Oh, really? John, I just saw your message. Wow. Okay. It always turns out that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway, hits the top of the chapel vault. That's what they were thinking. And they thought with that one caisson that they pushed it out of the way, that I remember them saying they hit something hard. They tried to push through it, and they believe that they put weight on it and they pushed it down, and they think it was the chapel vault. And then they pushed it down and kind of off to the side a little bit.
They weren't centered up on it, probably. Is what it
Right.
was.
Right. But anyway, they've have evidence of some concrete that they brought up and things like that. So that's kind of neat that now they're back in that area. This picture here, this talks about when they were down. This is the Hedden shaft, and they had good documentation saying that at the bottom of the Hedden shaft there was shielding created down at the bottom, and you see it here in this picture. This is showing the three sides of it. Of course, it'd be four sides. And what they wanted to do was and they did pull up, I think, a piece of it a couple years ago, didn't they? I thought there was a piece of what they thought was shielding. Huh?
I don't recall seeing it, but I heard that they did. Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of the smaller caissons that they put down. I thought they did bring up part of it. Oh, no tours this year. I guess I'm vacationing in New Brunswick again. That was Tara. Yep. Mm-hmm. I want to get to New Brunswick too, because I want to go over and see Tom and meet Tom in person. So anyway, so that's one of the things that they were wanting to hit. They wanted to go down and they wanted to hit part of the Hedden shaft because it kind of gives them an idea to let them know that they are definitely in the right area.
Well, that's the reference point they're looking for, right? Once you hit that, you know where you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to remove all doubt.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's another closer picture of, again, it's an artist rendition, but it's a closer picture of the shielding. They said it was 1/4 inch thick. I think it was 1/4 inch thick.
1/4 inch thick steel, yeah.
Yep. At this point of the show, they were at about 72 to 74 feet. They made it down to that, the excavation depth of 72 to 74 feet. And they were pulling out much larger pieces of wood, according to Dr. Spooner. The team hopes that DMT2 was on course to find the chapel vault, which was first reported in 1897 at a depth of 153 feet. Now, they've added about 10 feet on top of that, so that would put them about 160 or so on today's estimates, because they've added about 10 feet to build up the money pit area so they could bring in the heavy equipment.
And it might be even further down than that since they hit it.
Right. You're right. Thank you. Yeah. If they did push it down, it could be even deeper. Yep. That's a very good point. They were going back and looking at a previous episode footage where the guys were on the wash table and they pulled up. This is when they were drilling in that area before, and they pulled up a piece of what looked to be concrete. It's hard to tell from this picture. I know I tried to grab it real quick just to show, but they did find a piece of what appeared to be concrete. I don't remember if they ever got this tested or not to find out if it truly was.
Not that we've heard yet, no.
There's Andrew. Andrew comes over and he kind of gives him he's with Irving Equipment, and he kind of came over to give him an estimate of where they were and where at what depths and all that. It's kind of neat to, because you got the two different companies, Rock Equipment working with Irving Equipment, the two combining together. Irving has the crane out there and all of that, and then of course Rock has the oscillator and
the hammer grab.
And the hammer grab. Yep. Yeah. And the other guys bring out the caissons and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of neat to see the companies working together like that to make this happen. So then we jump over to Lot 8. We're going to kind of follow along with the show tonight to kind of keep it in line with what's going on with the show. So then we jump over to Lot 8. The guys are heading out. That's, of course, Steve Guptill and Gary Drayton and Jack Begley heading out to their spot on Lot 8. There it is there. That's about where they're going to be looking to do a little bit of, they wanted to get out there with the GPS first off and then do some metal detecting in the area as well. And this is that depression that they were talking about. They had I think he said it was like 10 by 10, wasn't it? A 10 by 10 depression in the ground?
Yes.
Yep. And a rock and this one boulder right in the middle of it. And then here's another picture of where when they did the magnetometer survey of the entire island. This is another spot that they got a hit, was right there in that same area. So that's why they're over there trying to get a better look at it. And also they showed this picture real quick, but I was looking at this. And again, I don't think we've ever gotten exactly this. I think this December triangle has to be real close to lot 8.
Yeah, it looks very close.
It
Yeah.
looks very close. John, did we ever figure out what that was all about, the December triangle?
Well, the December triangle is also known as the winter triangle. It is a 3 stars that form a equilateral triangle. That's also found in Freemasonic thought, just coincidentally. But I have the suspicion that the December triangle will be a formation of 3 stones that are equal distance apart, and it's going to probably make a 60-60-60 triangle of some type. I think it's representing the heavens. It's just a matter of finding those 3 stones. That's my suspicion.
Right.
But again, there's so many stones in the area that, which 3 and how they marked.
Yeah.
We know stones are marked all the time. In fact, I think last year they flipped over that one stone and they saw the equilateral triangle on the bottom of the stone. Maybe it was earlier this year. And certain stones, are marked Masonically or otherwise. So, I think it really represents as above, so is below, that concept. Yep. So December triangle is somewhere, but I don't think they've found it.
Right.
But we know the hatch is real.
Mm-hmm.
Because they found the hatch, or what supposedly is the hatch. So, I think every marking on Zenith's map has a place on Oak Island if you know what you're looking at and have the proper context.
Right. And know what you're looking for as well.
And know what you're looking for.
Yep. Yeah. And that's why, and I brought this picture back up because you see where that is. And even over here, some of these anomalies they came across. And then right there, I mean, that looks about the right spot to me, pretty close for a hand-drawn map. So very interesting. Thank you, John, for that, because that's,
sure.
I think that's something that they really need to pay attention to. Now, are they? I would have to think that they are. I mean, we're not the only ones that are going to think of this, right?
Yep.
So I would have to think that they're paying attention to this every step of the way.
Well, there would have to be. I mean, we know it's celestial, and we know it's being marked as a physical body on the island. And why is that when we know it's a celestial event as well that appears between late November and early March for those 3 triangles, those 3 stars making that equilateral triangle?
Right.
So, not done by coincidence, Jeff, at all.
Yeah. And you said 60 degrees? Is that what you said?
Well, an equilateral triangle is 60-60-60 because a triangle, by its nature, all 3 angles have the equal 180.
Right.
So it looks like to be a perfect equilateral triangle. The one in the sky looks to be a perfect equilateral triangle, and it is called either the Withering Triangle or the December Triangle. So why it's on the map, who knows? But I
and something you said that it has Masonic background to it, right?
Yeah. Well, the equilateral triangle is a Masonic symbol.
Yes, exactly.
And it's something that's used. Also, if you ask Jake, it's also a symbol for, or has been used for a symbol for Bacon at times. So it does. And Francis Bacon was the, supposedly the forerunner of speculative Freemasonry, late 1850s. 1500s, late 1500s. And so perhaps related. But again, it's an anomaly until proven otherwise. But
exactly.
I think there's a relation there for sure.
Yep. And that's the thing too. Then we're going to get to that in a minute. Something that Tom pointed out with some of the pictures that he sent over. We'll get to that in a minute. Now they did find that big boulder right here in the middle that they were looking at. That seems to be right there in that depression that they were talking about, 10 by 10 depression. But we're going to talk about some of the things that are in this area here in just a moment. I want to show first that the picture of what they found. They did get a metal hit. And it was this piece of cylindrical iron that they were trying to figure out what may be. Of course, Carmen Legg will get a look at this, and he'll have a better or maybe a better idea of exactly what it is and give us somewhat of a date on it based upon its composition. But they did find this. It looked like it may have been broken off of something, but it did look hammered up here on the top because it's kind of mushroomed a little bit around the edge.
I would say for sure that's something that's been hammered, whether it's a crowbar or some form of rebar or a chisel, but something that's definitely been beat on with another piece of metal.
Exactly.
Was anybody surprised, as I was, that Steve was so adamant about there's really got to be? I've never seen him that adamant before
About what?
about the fact that he thinks there was something there. I mean, I've never seen him that forceful, maybe before,
Yeah.
or
I
opinionated.
actually wrote it down, Jack, when Steve said, he said, this whole area is a hot spot.
You know, and that's not like him.
You're right. You're right. You're exactly right. He's not usually that definite about something like that. Yeah.
Sure.
Interesting observation. I'm glad you brought that up.
And also keep in mind too, that was the third lot that Samuel Ball purchased, was lot 8.
Yep.
He purchased 25. He purchased 25 and 26, which are, I guess, diagonally across the island from lot 8 first, and then he bought that one.
Yeah. And I think Marty had mentioned during the show, or during the last week's show, I think it was, that he did not know of any buildings. There was no record of buildings ever being built on lot 8, I think is what he said. Now, if Samuel Ball owned it, then you would think at some point he was farming it, or part of it. We don't know. We don't know for sure if he was farming it, but at some point you would think he was.
Sure.
So, you know, if this thing was buried in the ground and he was, I mean, generally when you're plowing a field, you're not going to pay attention to things that might get kicked up, unless it is brought to the surface and it's going to be something getting in the way of your farming. Then you're going to toss it aside or whatever, like rocks. You guys grow big rocks up there in Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, so something like this would easily be missed if he was farming and plowing with his oxen, plowing that area. Let's see. All right, so
yeah, he could have been driving. He could have been putting in survey markers or survey stakes in the stone or whatever, right? I mean, it could be any one of a multiple number of things.
Yep. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Linda just sent it. We were talking about that other piece of shielding that was seen, pulled up out of there. It was season 7, episode 19.
19, it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, April of 2020, pretty sure. Yeah. Okay, they're going to get a picture of it. Looks like, you know, thank you. That's Linda and Jan out there working all the time. They're digging stuff up for us while we're on the show here. But yeah, so yeah, there was a piece of metal that was found away. If we'd see what shaft that was or what caisson that was. Here's another picture of it, and you can definitely see the hammering that's taking place on this thing. You know, that lip are going around the top.
And if any Mulligans out there, I just texted you something to post if you could post it for me. Thanks. Amy's going to probably do it. It's about the December Triangle. So it's just what stars they are. It's just some background information.
Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, I think that's important. Okay,
it absolutely is.
Let's see. All right, so one of the things that we wanted to talk about in this, and this is something that Tom observed and brought to our attention tonight. Go ahead, Tom. I'm going to let you kind of talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not being a doubting Thomas here or anything, but when I see a hole in the ground like that, I sometimes think of, if a tree gets blown over in a storm and it winds up horizontal to the ground and the roots are perpendicular to the ground, which I think is what's right behind Gary's back there, it's going to leave a 10 by 10 indentation in the ground. Right. So I think that might be one possibility as to why there's such a noticeable indentation there. I mean, it could be a bunch of different things, right? I mean, you can't argue with the science, but that could be one reason that there's that indentation there.
Yeah. You see this back here. This is a base of a tree. Was it the, and there's a couple other pictures we have of it, but it's very interesting to note. And I'll show you the other pictures that came up in here, but this is, if it isn't a tree that blew over, then what could it possibly be with the two trees? There's two of them here. This one back behind him and this one here. This one is obviously dead and been dead a long time, but this one back here is not. And we'll get a better look at him here in just a minute. But this is a great observation that Tom made looking at this. So here's another picture of it. Now, of course, there's that rock that they're dealing with, and he's going all around the depression. But take a look at this.
Look at how squirrely, and I call it squirrely, but
Yeah.
how knotty and squirrely the base of that tree is, the way it's
Now these
grown.
are two different trees, and I don't know who noticed this besides Tom. I mean, I glanced at it during the show, but I didn't really pay particular attention, and I'm usually pretty good about catching that sort of thing. But look at that, and I think that it looks like it's an oak to me. I don't know for a fact
I would,
because I'm not
I
there.
would say it's a hardwood of some sort. I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely a
Yeah.
hardwood of some sort. Yes, but look at that base. Look at the base of this tree. Now, how would a tree get like that?
Though
Yeah,
there is one way that they get like that,
Hmm.
and I've seen people do it. Is when they're marking a site, they'll deliberately alter or bend or tie a sapling so that they can mark it and come back years later. It'll grow that way. I've actually seen people tie knots in branches or knots in saplings,
Yep.
Wow.
Yep,
and
And
they'll
I've seen
grow
'em
with those knots.
Yeah, I've seen people take a like if you have like two saplings together and bend them so that they go out and then up to make like a horn pattern. I've seen all kinds of different things. Michelle saw this. She said, "I saw that tree," and Deidre's with you on that too. Deidre said the same thing exactly, Tom. But this is very interesting that this is this way, and it looks like if this is not a tree blown over, which it kind of looks like it. I'll zoom in down here. You can actually see the roots here that have been yanked up out of the ground. So, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. This could have been part of a tree that came over, and the rest of it is gone.
Hmm.
But you know, if it's not, it's an oddly shaped base of a tree, trunk of a tree, just like this one back here. They didn't talk about this at all, which is really weird because if you're standing there and you're, like Jack Begley's just standing there watching Gary, did he not notice that tree? I mean, come on, that's a very odd
And
big trunk of a tree.
and I think you've got another shot there, sort of them walking through the forest or whatever. There's no other trees around that have that type of
Yeah, right here.
anomaly shape.
Not a one. There's not another tree in here that's shaped has a base like that.
Lots of boulders, but
That's
not
the other
trees.
thing we pointed out about this was all the boulders. Now, just as John was just talking about, you'd be looking for 3 marked boulders that were in the triangle shape. If I were there, I would be checking every single one of these boulders. Matter of fact, I would probably go around the entire island looking at every rock that's sticking up out of the ground, get the moss off from it, and I'd be checking that rock for any kind of symbols, markings, chisels, anything.
And they didn't take the moss off that one suspicious stone at the indentation either, did they?
No. I know. It's
And they did do that. Oh, it was years ago they did that. They did a series of stones that had moss on them on one of those shows.
Yeah, even
They
the one
got
around Fred
bugs
Nolan's,
up.
the one on Fred
Yes.
Nolan's property too. I think they
Yep.
dug
Yep.
around and cleaned it off.
The other thing about that's an oak tree. So that goes back a while because there aren't many oak trees left on Oak Island anymore.
Oh, I know. So that's the interesting thing that, again, this shot was grabbed by Tom. And again, I thank you for that because it was a great observation that no other tree around this entire forest area right here has a trunk that's like that one.
So
And then also the boulders.
Amy makes a good point. Amy Mulligan, and I thought this as well. Could the tree be a marker?
Yep.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if it is, the base is shaped like a triangle. Just
You mean
just an
this
anom-
one?
an- just
Which
an- yes.
means, which would mean somebody has been there in the last less than 200 years to do that.
Right. How old do these trees get? Right. It had to be within 200 years.
Correct. The only other thing that would make something like that is if you split the roots, like you said, and put an intentional stone right there that has been removed since,
Yeah. Mhm.
and it would literally go,
Go around it.
Yeah.
But you would have to split it and really work those roots. But yeah, there's no way it gets like that.
Yeah, and this is
Yep.
something that Deidre, this is Deidre right here, and she said they may not have talked about it, but they sure did a lot of camera angles through it. Yes, they did. So, I mean, what do you make of that, folks? I mean, it's one of those things that just
I've seen cedar trees grow like that, but never heard of it.
yes, me too. Yep.
But you would have to. Tom's right. You have to split the roots early on. You just
Yes.
uh,
Now
and
I asked Tom the question. I said, now
Mhm.
if you have rocky ground like we saw later on, and we'll get to that in a little bit, very rocky here, and you see all these boulders everywhere. Would the rocks make it grow like that? And Tom's answer was no, it wouldn't.
Yep.
Only if it was trying to grow over a rock at the surface.
Over a rock, right.
Correct, but you couldn't split, like I'm thinking about
No,
logically, you couldn't
not
split the
like
roots
it's
early while it was a sapling. It's impossible. So it would have to be split, and someone would almost have to caretake it, like a bonsai, carefully, making the split like that. Now, is someone going to caretake like that? Otherwise, it had to be split as a sapling.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can get
Oh, yeah,
around that.
it would definitely have to be when it's a sapling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
You wouldn't be able to do it
that.
any other time. Yeah. There was two very young saplings that grew together. Yeah. That's what Janet said.
That's
I don't know.
possible.
Interesting, though, isn't it? And again, they didn't even talk about this. And I'm thinking, this might be trying to tell you something, right?
Shape
Might
of
be trying
triangle.
to tell you. Yeah. Might be
Mhm,
trying
yeah.
to tell you something.
Tell Jack
All right.
to turn around.
Huh?
Tell Jack to turn around.
Turn around. Look at the Jack. You're standing there leaning up against your shovel. You're holding that shovel up, standing 6 feet away from this odd shaped oak tree.
Did he put the metal detector in the tree?
I didn't see him do that.
I would have. I mean, it's just the type of place you would put something.
Yeah, exactly.
Just curiosity.
Okay. Oh, is that the? Oh, okay. So who sent this one? Linda. Linda sent a picture here, and that's the shielding. We'll get to that in here in just a minute. Yeah, when we get back to the money pit. Cool. Thank you. So yeah, they did find some shielding. Okay. Yeah, there's a couple pictures of it here. All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate that very much. All right. So next we jump over to the war room, and the guys are over here. They're gathered to meet with researcher and 32nd degree Freemason Scott Clark. Scott presented a theory earlier this year about William Phipps and Andrew Belcher possibly could have hidden silver in the money pit around the year of 1687. And that was a great show. And that's, was very, very interesting information that he had shared. He came out to the war room, and I have got, get my mouse back over here. And here's the guys all forming up. And of course, Scott Clark, there he is on the, on Zoom, zoomed in. So, and he was coming on, and they asked him to take a look at, he had such good information to give them, about William Phipps and Andrew Belcher and that whole situation there, which really is good information. But he also was asked to take a look at what we always have called the brooch, the Garnet Brooch. And so anyway, as they were introducing him, they Robert Clotworthy took us back to when he was talking about Phipps. There's Phipps right there, and then Captain Andrew Belcher that he was working with. But this is the Garnet right here. Now, what they did was they asked him to take a look at this and speculate, on this, and kind of try to give an idea of what he thought this might be from. And this was it. He came up with this, that Scott explains that he feels that the Garnet Brooch could be a stone from the Masonic Royal Ark High Priest breastplate. Now, there is, and I'm going to let John kind of talk about this here in just a moment, but because John looked into this, and I've, in reading the Bible, I have come across in Exodus 28, in that area right there, they talk about God telling Moses to have Aaron wear this particular breastplate when he is in the presence of the Ark of the Covenant. And it has something to do with people have speculated it had something to do with his being able to communicate, access the Ark, protect him from the Ark's power, maybe all of those things. What do you tell us a little bit about that, John?
Well, the actual breastplate itself was originally worn by Aaron, and that was the elder brother of Moses.
Mm-hmm.
it's also known as the priestly breastplate or the breastplate of judgment. It contains 12 jewels. Each jewel originally was a precious or semi-precious stone. Those jewels have changed a bit over time and tradition, but there are a list of original stones. And it was used to. Those stones had each of them, had in Hebrew the names of the 12 tribes of Judah, or the 12 tribes in the Jewish tradition. It's interesting because the breastplate not only protected one from the power of God that emanated from the Ark of the Covenant, but also allowed the wearer to communicate with God. So the breastplate had immense power to not only protect, but to actually have a direct line, a direct communication with the Almighty.
Right. Now, here is a statue that you found of Arron wearing it. And just like as it describes, these links would be holding it from the shoulder.
Correct.
On both sides. And then and of course, these aren't colored, but these would be colored stones that would be in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to have this if you were in the presence of the Ark. You had to be wearing this. If not, I think you didn't survive it.
No, not at all.
And when they carried it, they had to keep it covered with a cloth.
Yes.
They transported it somewhere. It had to be covered all the time.
And so there's been speculation of what the Ark is, power of God, or is it, radioactive? And I'm thinking when I go to the dentist and have to put something above, when you get your x-rays and you have to put something, that almost looks like a protection plate, from radiation. Almost. It really kind of does. I could, you walk into the dentist,
protecting your vital organs.
Yes.
Yes.
So that could be one of the original functions of the breastplate of Arron. But also the semi-precious and precious stones representing the 12 tribes of Judah, and being able to communicate with God was the other function of the breastplate of Arron.
Hey, John, was there a weight? Did you find out how much it weighed or anything?
There's no specific weight that I have found.
I mean, I was wondering what kind of weight was there because of the shoulder straps, and everything else, coming down.
Yeah. I think it originally was made of pure gold, with those semi-precious stones, and that's going to be weighty, with that much gold. I don't have an exact weight. Maybe our viewers could speculate on what it weighed, or maybe someone researched that. But I don't have an exact weight for you. But it would have been rather heavy, for sure, if that's gold.
Mm-hmm. Here's somebody that brought up a question. I'm trying to look over and see who this was so I can give proper... this was Catherine Woodruff. Says, casual loss of a gem off the Masonic breastplate after a ritual, or a gem lost in the night while looting a hidden Masonic stash. Could be either one of those, if it truly is that.
Now, one of the Masonic rituals or degrees that Alan Butler brought to everyone's attention when he talked about the Royal Ark of Enoch is a degree in Masonry that deals with the breastplate of Arron and the fetching of the Ark of the Covenant. Within the temple itself, the Ark of the Covenant represents the light of the temple. Okay, every Masonic temple is built after the basically the schematics of Solomon's temple. As you have the light of God within yourself, or the light within yourself, and that emanates. It's not the temple itself that's important in Masonry; it's the light. So the Ark of the Covenant becomes the kind of heartbeat, or the keystone to the Masonic Lodge. It is considered the light of God. And so that's why it's so important, because, it represents, in many cases, you, but it also represents the life of the temple and the light of God being within the temple itself, which is extremely, extremely important to Masons.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, it's quite significant that it was on Oak Island, if that is the case.
Yeah, right. It would have to be in association with the Ark of the Covenant. If that was truly a garnet from a breastplate of a Masonic, or of this particular breastplate, it would have to be in association with the Ark of the Covenant. Or somebody had it that was a Mason or a priest level. I mean, what's the chances of that, you know?
Now Cortland Dahl and I,
whether it is or whether it is or whether it isn't, we're still coming back to the Freemasons.
or the Forerunners, the Masons,
or the Forerunners. Exactly.
Speculative Freemasonry is
that common thread of knowledge, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And Court and I have talked about this at length, and Jacobite Masonry, and the many of the Forerunners to Masonry and Freemasonry, they had replicas that they would use in their rituals and initiation ceremonies of the Ark of the Covenant. I know I went to the George Washington's Masonic memorial in Alexandria, Virginia, and they have an actual replica of both the menorah and the Ark of the Covenant there. I'm like, oh wow! And they have it in a separate room and everything, and so it is considered the light of God, in Masonic in the Masonic temple.
Yep.
So it's extremely, extremely important. And any ritual or Masonic degree dealing with the Ark of the Covenant, extremely important in Masonry. You can't get around it. So if that indeed is the breastplate of Aaron, or a piece of the breastplate of Aaron, that's of high significance in my mind.
Yep.
I mean, why would you have that on Oak Island?
Exactly. Yeah. And it brings up, is it true? We don't know. Scott Clark, he will be coming on the show, by the way. We are getting Scott to come on. We're working with him on a date right now, probably somewhere, before the end of the month, we're hoping. But we're working on having him come on, and he may be out in the chat tonight. He often shows up. He is a member of our Facebook group, and he often shows up in the chat watching the show. So he will be coming on as soon as we work out the date, and he can help explain this, and also William Phipps and Belcher too as well, because I want to hear about all of that. So we are going to have him on.
It'd be really interesting to hear what Scott has to say, because what we see on TV is 30 seconds of his explanation, and the explanation,
exactly.
I guarantee, was longer than that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
30 seconds of an hour or more at least.
Yeah, exactly. And I did make a mistake there. I did say that they asked him to look at it. I thought I heard that in the show, but Linda corrected me and said no, they didn't. He had looked at that and came to them, I guess, with a possibility about it. See, Scott found this information and presented it to them. So thank you, Linda, for correcting me on that. But one thing that, like Darlene mentions right here, it shows in that one picture that it had each of the tribes written on the stones.
Correct.
That we don't know if they actually were. I've actually got, let me look here. I've actually got a section of the Exodus, and I'll bring this up here real quick.
Now, I don't think it's written in the Bible, but traditionally it would have been the tribes of Judah written in Aramaic, on each of the stones.
Right.
That's what tradition holds.
Right. It talks in 28 here that about the breastplate being bound by the rings thereof unto the rings of the ephod with the thread of blue, and that it may be upon skillfully woven band of the ephod. And then right down here, it says, and Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate. Now, it doesn't say written on the gems, but in the breastplate. So somewhere in the breastplate, it would have the names of the children of Israel.
Yes.
In the breastplate of judgment upon his heart, when he goeth into the holy place for a memorial before the Lord continually. So in this, if you want to read this, it's in the Bible. It's in Exodus 28, starts about 28. And it does talk about it in some other places too, where it was very important that they had to have this on, or he had to have this on, Aaron did, before he entered the tabernacle. So,
yes.
Yeah. But anyway, it's there if you want to read that. But interesting. Now, is Scott saying for sure this was it? No. But this was an idea. I mean, it's plausible. Some people completely dismissed it, but it's possible. We'll get more explanation on this when we talk to him. So,
Jeff, the gem and the brooch, was it glass or was it a garnet?
They called it a garnet.
Okay, a garnet. Okay.
Yeah. When they looked at it, the guy that analyzed it, and I cannot remember his name, but I remember him analyzing it because they were hoping it was an actual ruby or something.
Yeah.
But it was actually, he called it a garnet.
Okay. Because
Which I guess in costume jewelry or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, and the original was all semi-precious and precious stones. So, if you're making a replica, you might use things like that. Garnets and other less precious gems because it can get rather expensive. And pure gold, ritualistically, you wouldn't use pure gold.
Oh, what did Barbara say here? It didn't. Oh, you mean who might you be talking about? You be talking about this guy right here.
There he is. And Spielberg was genius. I mean, he's wearing the breastplate of Arron right there.
Yeah, that's this is from Raiders, and that's the that's it right there. He's wearing one now, and he does have it attached like it's supposed to be attached and everything. But it didn't protect him from getting his face melted off.
Jack, how much do you think that weighs? I mean, if that's kind of realistic, 20, 30 pounds of gold?
Oh yeah, I would think. What do you think, Jack?
It's got to be pure gold.
I mean, that's where you gotta have those shoulder straps, to help brace you up.
Yeah. But it has, if it weighs that much, you would have to have links like that to hold up the breastplate.
Mm-hmm.
So at least 20, 30 pounds, Jack, maybe more, something like that.
Oh, I can remember the Indiana says, "Don't open your eyes, don't
look at it, don't look at it." So anyway, we had to show that. John went and grabbed that. And it's funny that Barbara brought that up. Yeah, it didn't help him, did it? He still got his face melted off. So yeah. Anyway, because they were bad dudes, they weren't. Maybe he was supposed to stand there with his eyes closed. I guess I don't know. Let's see here. Okay, so all right. Anyway, as we digress down that way. Anyway, I wanted to just kind of explore that a little bit, just because to me it was very interesting that this whole thing came up. Now we know that the island definitely has, the gold itself would be very heavy. You're absolutely right,
mm-hmm.
Especially if it was solid. If it was plated on something else. But I think it does say pure gold, made of pure gold, and they have the gems, or the stones on it and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So. Interesting point there. We do know that the island does bear some Masonic symbolism. They talked about some triangles found. They talked about this G that was found. So the island has I've forgotten some of the other ones. They showed a few of them. There was a stone that the guy marked that showed a triangle.
You have the stone. You have the December triangle. You have the swamp as a triangle. You have the money pit, which also doubles as the Royal Ark of Enoch degree, and the Enochian tomb, the Enochian vaults, which Alan Butler talks about. The Eye of the Swamp, the Eye of Providence, and so there are many Masonic-like symbols there. And we
also know that a lot of people that have been interested in Oak Island are Masons.
And there are resident Masons with Charles and Tony are both Masons. So there are resident Masons associated with the island as well. Yeah.
So
and Roosevelt was a Mason, was he not?
Yeah.
Yes. And so was
Mr.
Chappell.
That's Mr. Chappell right there. So and he was as well. So yeah. We know that
Chappell stayed invested in the island for like 50 years.
Yeah.
He sure did.
That was a family adventure too, wasn't it, Tom? If I remember correctly.
Yes, his son took over where he left off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So could it be? I mean, yes, it could be that there's a strong Mason influence in the area. We know of a particular family that's very close by that's very influential. In this, that are all Masons. We know that several of the people that are on the island today are Masons that are in part of the fellowship. So I mean,
and McGinnis was a Mason,
huh?
McGinnis was a Mason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, So is it odd to think that there's not some influence around there? Not odd at all. Absolutely. That there's going to be some influence. FDR, yeah. Henry said FDR was a Mason. So, including Anthony Graves, was he a Mason? I don't know.
James McQuiston goes into that pretty much too. There are a lot of Masons there.
Yeah. Yep. So interesting. I know we kind of went on that for a little while there. Interesting to point some of that out. Here's a picture that they show, and they show this on the episodes quite often, showing the Ark of the Covenant, and this would be the light of God right here. Is what they're showing in this picture. That would be appear between the cherubims and just right there above it, and that would be where God would basically sit and communicate.
That's the mercy seat.
Yeah. Yep. So.
No,
And this right here, this was an interesting that they showed this. Did you catch this one, John, at all, or Tom, or Jack? I and it breezed through it. I was going to watch it again tonight, and I just didn't get a chance. They were talking about the Ark of the Covenant being down in the bottom of 9 levels.
Yeah, they're trying to draw a correlation between this diagram and what similarities there might be with the actual layers of the money pit.
Yeah, every 10 feet.
Now it's interesting because that would be the layers of the Enochian vaults, which is 9 layers. And the reason I'm only saying that, Jeff, if that is the arc that they're representing, if you draw close into there, there's a delta. You see the delta, the and look, it's an equilateral triangle. You see it right there.
Oh, right. On top of the chest.
There, with the original name of God, which is never spoken, and at the higher degrees, it's given to Masons. I'm not going to go any more into that. I mean, but a lot of the information that I have just is published or on the internet, and you just have to research it. But that's an equilateral triangle, just like the December triangle that we discussed, and the delta, the infallible name of God, would be written on it if that's what they're representing. And it looks like they're saying that the delta is sitting on the Ark of the Covenant, if that drawing is correct.
Right, and we don't know. I don't know where this came from, where this particular drawing came from. Prometheus showed it on the episode last night. So wherever they got it from, they didn't say. But interesting that all this stuff kind of talks about. Now, does that mean that the Ark of the Covenant's on Oak Island or ever was on Oak Island? No, we don't know that for a fact. Of course we don't. That's all speculation. But man, there are a lot of things that kind of.
But there's another possibility there. And the other possibility I've discussed with Cortland and others, was Oak Island ever used as a place of initiation for the Masons? So you would go there, and there would be a Royal Ark of Enoch place to have an initiation. There would have been other things, and it's all the markings and symbols are, so many of them are in that Masonic Rosicrucian Templar line of thought. And, as Rick Lagina always says, where is it? He said that last year, I think. Where are these facts? Where is the line of thought? And he said it earlier this year. Where in the line of thought does this hit, more or less? What tradition is it? So, it's something you constantly have to think about. Where in this line of thought are these symbols? Because even Masonry pulls from, speculative Masonry, Francis Bacon, and even Templarism and ancient Jewish thought and Egyptian thought. So, where is it pulling from? And you don't want to mistake, what you think is Egyptian or you think is Templar, when it might be in the Masonic tradition as usurped or inherited by the Masonic tradition. And you're thinking it's one thing when really it's another. Same symbols. And that's what makes it so tough to nail what's on Oak Island.
Oh, absolutely. And there's obviously there's going to be a lot of people that disagree that it has anything to do with all this. But I mean, there's, I guess, one of the lines of thought, as John likes to say, line of thought, is that if it ever was there, that the Ark of the Covenant, it was just a temporary holding place for it until it made its final resting place. I don't know. Is it still there? We will find out someday, maybe. And as we talked about before, the Ark of the Covenant is not supposed to be found until of man's greatest need, again. So, or something like that. So anyway, as we go, we don't know. It's just one of those theories that the Ark of the Covenant is on Oak Island, or was on Oak Island. And someday,
it's something we can. Go ahead.
Go Go ahead.
I said it's something we definitely can follow up with Scott Clark with, and his
Yes.
interpretation of it and what he thinks on the island, and I think what he presented is a unique theory that does need some exploring, because if it is that the island is related at all Masonically, which I do think it has Masonic ties, then something like this could be a possibility.
Well, you look at the countries that are involved in the island, and there are Masonic ties.
Exactly.
You have French ties and British ties both had Masons.
Yep, and the Portuguese.
And the Portuguese.
Yep. And so the Masonic bond and the Masonic brotherhood transcends nationality. It transcends your allegiance to nation. So, that's one of the few organizations that does. You're a Mason first.
Yep. That's an interesting thought, TT. Mount Rushmore?
National treasure?
Maybe, yeah. Who knows? Maybe it's behind Mount Rushmore.
But Jeff, why wouldn't you put it someplace significant? That's significant. Statue of Liberty, Mount Rushmore. Any place that would be significant to this nation, because as I've said before, it's a Masonic nation. It's built on Masonic principles.
Yep.
And the best place to hide something is in plain sight. So
absolutely,
always.
Or the big Masonic building in Washington, if I remember, they have a real big temple there.
Oh, absolutely.
Could be.
Has a huge pyramid on top. That's an unfinished pyramid, and it's just unfinished because you finish your own pyramid, as the Ascendant Master. And so, it could be any place like that, Jack, that's just meaningful to the Masons and this country. Because as we know, many of the founding fathers were Masons.
Yeah, because the reason I say that is that Washington was really marked by Masons, was made by Masons.
Yeah. It was.
Yes.
It was designed by Masons.
By Masons,
Yep. Yes, it was. So who knows?
Makes a lot of sense, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so would Oak Island be a good stopping place to keep it until you got things ready for where it was going to be finally rested?
Well, if so, you put your relics as Templars or Templar refugees. You put your relics out of the reach of the church. Yes. He who holds the relics gets to tell the story.
Yep.
And then it becomes, through the Rhodes Cross and Bacon, it eventually becomes speculative Freemasonry, and then Freemasonry. But that's the line of thought. Right. And so that information about artifacts like that, or relics, would have, moved itself through that line of thought.
Yeah.
And maybe eventually retrieve from the island to a safer location. But in the meantime, where do you put it? You bury it someplace that the church can't get to. Mm-hmm. And you bury it so only you know where it is.
Right.
And your fellow brothers.
You had to get it out of Europe. I mean, you just had to get it out of Europe.
Absolutely. They didn't want the if, and again, that's an if the Templars had the Ark of the Covenant, they didn't want to take it back to the Vatican.
Nope.
No. And how many ships did they say the Templars left with? Like 18 ships or something like that.
Yeah.
La Rochelle.
Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean they all went to the same place either. Right?
Exactly. And I doubt they did. I doubt they all did go to the same place.
No. You'd split it up.
You wouldn't take all your treasure in one place. Somebody had mentioned in here about the ship, wouldn't it be awfully risky to be transporting that thing across the ocean? Well, if you were, you would be under the understanding or the belief that it's being protected by God. God's not going to let that happen. It's going to make it to the destination where you need to take it. I'll leave that as it lies.
Going back to the 18, you could have had 9 gone to Oak Island, 9 gone to Scotland, and the rest catch up later, all one time.
Right. Or someone down to Portugal and someone up to Scotland and then made their way over. So
and then some to France.
Yep. And some to France.
Yep. Some could have been decoys.
Mount Rushmore was created by a Mason, was it? I guess so.
Mm-hmm. It was.
So anyway, we could talk about that all night and turn this into an IDK, but we better get moving along here.
Let's keep on going.
Yeah, let's keep on going. We could turn this into an IDK or something when we get Scott Clark on.
Absolutely.
And we'll announce that when we get Scott on. We'll make a big announcement about that, of course, because I can't wait to talk to him about all this. I'm really looking forward to that. So anyway, they go back out to Lot 8. And this time they got their permit to be able to dig at least 5 feet down. And as you remember, They had those anomalies that they found last time that they were out with the OKM. Well, what was that thing called? The OKM Gepard scanner.
Right.
I think it only weighs like 3 pounds. They came back out and they got those anomalies. Remember, they had one that was relatively shallow, and then they
5
had
feet,
one that was
yeah.
about 20 feet.
20
I'm sorry,
feet.
what was that, Tom?
It's the first one was at 5 feet. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one was like 20 feet down, and they got the authority of the permit to go 5 feet down.
And I think that is significant because that is the first time this year we've heard where they have got a permit to do something.
I know, isn't it? That's very true.
I mean, I don't know, maybe the three of you, but I have not heard about them getting a permit for anything like that.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've seen it. A little excavator digging anywheres on the island other than the money pit.
Yeah. And that was a thing that they were talking about the last couple of weeks whenever Gary was out going around to his little flags and market. They said during those times that they were trying to find evidence of man-made goings on so that then they could use that to get the permit to be able to excavate the area. That's what they were doing the metal detecting for, to find something that they could go then deeper and get a permit to go deeper. So that's what that was all about. So there you see Marty bringing out the little mini excavator and this new toy, or
GPX 5000.
The GPX 5000. Not a new toy, obviously. This is one that Gary's had. And this had what he said this was able to see much further down. Doesn't say in the notes here, but
Well, we know it will go down at least another 5 feet.
at least another 5 feet, right below that. And then they started digging away, and of course, boom, hitting rocks right off the bat, all kinds of rocks. And he was piling them up over to the side, and they speculated for a little bit about the fact that the rocks were very similar to the way that the stone road or the stone platform that was on the northwestern side of the Nolans Peninsula, where they found that big platform, that they were speculating that these rocks were very similar the way they were laid out. But as Tom pointed out earlier, what was that you mentioned, Tom, about?
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're going to clear land up there and there's a boggy or a soft spot or an indentation, they're going to take all those rocks, fire them in the hole, get rid of them.
Right.
Fill in the swamp so your cattle or sheep or whatever don't go into it, or oxen. That's where those rocks are going to wind up. And the other thing too is those rocks could be there naturally.
Yep. There are a lot of them. You see them all around here.
Yeah,
there are a lot of rocks, but then again, there's also water less than 5 feet down. I mean, they hit that. I was really surprised by that. I mean, is that a natural spring right there or something? Where's Rick to taste it to see if it's
it's some sort of surface groundwater, whether it's a spring or if it's a spring, then to me, you didn't dig a shaft there.
No.
Right? Yeah, no way. Because that
I
would
was
be
surprised
a
that
wet
they didn't
shaft.
have Dr. Spooner take a look at it.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
Yeah, I was really surprised when they hit water so quickly. That just really surprised me. So Gary jumped down in the hole. He did some metal detecting, came up empty-handed. But again, you see all these rocks. There is a lot of rocks in this area. But then again, that's pretty much known to be the way that Nova Scotia or this area is. There's a lot of rocks.
Yeah,
So-
and I wonder too if just the density of those rocks in that area didn't affect the 3D scanner.
Yes. Yeah. I think this was the anomaly they found because Gary did not get any hits of metal. So these rocks could very well have been what picked up on that scanner. But now it brings up the question, though. There was also the anomaly that they saw at 20 feet down or so, right around there. Yeah, that's true. Well, at the bottom of the hole, maybe somebody's saying that's not quite 5 feet. Yeah, at the bottom of the hole might have been, but I think I would have cleared a much bigger area. Just saying, I don't know. It could be I filled in well. Yeah, somebody said it could have been a filled in. That was Michelle.
It could very easily be a surface well that was ringed with rocks too.
An old spring-fed well.
And it collapsed in. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
BC St. Jean said about old Springfield,
Yep.
fed well.
Spring fed well. Yeah. I mean, that's at my camp, we have a spring fed well, and it would be 6-8 feet across, and we dug it by hand and we would ring it with rocks, with boulders to keep it from collapsing in.
Yep. There you go. Yeah. So we don't know. I would like to see. I really would like to see him come out with a bigger excavator and get down to the 20-foot level and see what that other anomaly was. Was it more rocks? I don't know. Was it a body of water of some kind of weirdness in the soil? Could be. But I'd sure like to see him be able to do that. But again, that's going to require another permit.
Yeah. And the thing about the 20-foot one was that when David Fernetti was playing with the machine, it looked like it was a square when he was working with it a little bit.
It did, yes.
Side view.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad they couldn't roll a little mini core drill machine up in there.
Yeah.
Let it go down 20 feet.
I think that would be a great idea. But now they wouldn't have to have a permit for that, would they?
I think they're limited to go as deep as 5 feet right now.
Yeah, yeah. Michelle said, was it part of a pasture? Could have been.
Could very well have
A
been.
lot of the island was cleared of trees at one time. So
So you're going to clear that pasture. If that was a swampy indent or a little boggy spot, that's where you're going to throw those rocks.
exactly.
And that would explain the compostable material underneath the rocks.
Yeah.
Yep. You couldn't grow anything, so
Right.
hey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, too wet for sure. So interesting that they what they come across with this. We'll see if they get that opportunity to go a little deeper. I'd like to see it happen, just because I'd like to know now that they found that anomaly and get that thing back out there, get that Gepard scanner back out there, and go over this entire area. There were other hits from the magnetometer survey that they had done when the guy had that thing on his back and he was walking around the island with it. He got a lot more hits in the area. So, they got to metal detect them first, come up with some sort of man-made anomalies, and then go from there and see if they can't come up with
I would like to see him move that big rock that he couldn't move.
Yeah.
Just to see what was underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still sitting there. They never did move it.
He couldn't move it, I don't think.
Or at least peel the moss off it or roll it over and inspect it or something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to say to any of the Laginas or anybody that might ever watch this show. If you need somebody to go around the island and clear the moss off of every single boulder, I'll do that, and I'll go there and I'll photograph every single one of them.
Awesome.
Who's with me? Who wants to go clear all the moss off of every rock on Oak Island and see what's there? Who's with me? Chat, come on, tell me.
Oh, yeah.
Would you do it for free on vacation? Would you spend the whole summer clearing rocks and checking them all out?
Yes. I don't think one vacation would cover it.
Oh, look at me. Look, there they go. Let's go. Everybody's
go.
ready.
There we go. Hands raised. I mean, that was quick.
Yep. I would do it in a heartbeat. Yep. See, there we go. So there we go. We just form a coalition. We'll go up there and we'll just have at it. We'll clear off every stone. We'll survey.
I have a lot of vacation time.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
So do I. 6 months, twice a year.
Yep. Look at all the people. I'm in, everybody. So we got about 80, 90, 100 people that are saying they're going to go. So let's
free
do
for
it.
free. Me too. Look at this, Jeff.
Oh boy.
Yep. All right. Well, I tell you what. So if like I said, if any of the Fellowship of the Dig are watching, you got a lot of people that would come out there and clear off every single rock and take pictures and look for any markings. We'll roll them over. Might need to get an excavator or something to roll them over if they're really big, but we'll check them out for you. So just rest assured, we got a group of people that would do that for you. Look at that. I'm unemployed for 2 months every summer. Well, I think John is too, actually. So there you go.
Teacher.
Must
There
be
we
a
go.
teacher.
And then we have people that would be willing to supervise.
Yep, I'll supervise. There you go. Jim Barlow's in. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's part of it, though. That mosquitoes are part of it. I mean, that's, we always said the mosquitoes are the Upper Peninsula state bird. So, I mean, it's just you got to deal with the mosquitoes, unfortunately. All right. So, once they finish up over there, or as they're finishing up over there, the guys return to the money pit. You got Craig and Marty and Rick, everybody arriving at the money pit to check the status of the excavation of DMT2. Andrew tells the team that they are excavating at 89 feet and the can is at 104 and the pressure is low. Now, if the pressure is low, that either indicates if it's like almost zero, that means they're in some sort of a void because the can has no pressure to push it, or the oscillator is having no resistance to push the can down. But if it's up higher, then they know they're going through, they can kind of tell the density of the soil by how much pressure it takes to move it. And they have very little pressure at this time. So they're thinking that they're in an area that is going through maybe backfill of some sort or some kind of area that's not as densely packed as others.
It was 124 feet, wasn't it, that he went down?
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
Hedden shaft, yeah. 124, yep. The next hammer grab that comes up, they get a lot of wood. He found this little chip. And I thought, he was talking about this being an axe chip. It was pretty cool, but I don't know, the total significance of it other than the fact that it would have been, they said wood chips would have been used for, laying on the bottom of a tunnel or something like that. All the wood chips, especially if they're down there, you're not going to be able to swing an axe in a 4-foot shaft or tunnel, not very easily. So these, would be done up top when they're actually, shaping the timbers so that they can be used for walls or roofs or whatever, or supports of some sort, and then taking those chips and throwing them down there to soak up some of that water.
The wood chip thing is kind of interesting because I've been kind of go back and find out who's been drilling and who's been digging where and what kind of methods they use to drill and everything else. And in 1866, the Halifax Company reported bringing up wood chips from 110 feet and 134 feet.
Oh, wow.
Right? Wow. And they were brought up with coconut fiber, charcoal. It says coconut fiber, charcoal, and wood chips. And at 134 feet, there was wood chips of either oak, spruce, or poplar.
Wow.
That actually, those ones I actually believe came from a plank. They weren't just the chips, but so there was stuff down there that they were pulling up.
So what
do you think they would be used for?
I have no idea.
What were the three things, Tom? Wood chips, coal, and...
Okay, at 110 feet, they brought up coconut fiber, charcoal, and wood chips.
The coconut fiber really intrigues me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they did, yes. They said that was, let's see.
What did they use those wood chips for, unless there's some kind of filtration, or maybe they're, I don't know. I have no idea.
I was going to say, are you burning them to pull oxygen into?
That's a
this is something that's been pointed out by Colin Jameson before. That you build fires to pull oxygen in from your air vents.
Could have just been damp down there, and they were throwing them in there for something.
It could have been something.
That's what I was kind of thinking too. Yeah,
the coal
they were also found under the stone road as well.
Yeah.
Why the coal? What's the coal? I mean, I get the wood chips and I get the coconut fiber, but why the coal? The coal just there it is.
Charcoal.
Yeah. What? Oh, I missed it. There it is.
Here it is. That's what I was laughing at.
Coconut smoked weenie.
I just happened to see that and got a chuckle out of it.
Yeah, maybe tinder. Yeah, you could be right. Yeah, to get the fire going or something. I don't know.
Or does it keep the foundation and other things naturally dry? I mean, would coconut fiber, the chips, and the coal act as some kind of, to make it arid?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not a chemist by any stretch of the imagination. So
right.
I have no idea. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
Nothing was burned, right? It was Tom. Nothing was burned.
No.
They had. Okay.
Well, not that it said in what I was reading. No.
Right.
Okay. Well. Huh.
Yep.
Interesting.
And they found this pin, dowel pin or something like that to hold two timbers together. They used those quite a bit. That would indicate that it was of the older origin. And they did take it over and drop it in the bucket to see if it floated or not. And it sank. So that was the Dan Blankenship test to see how old a piece of wood was, to put it in the bucket and see if it sank or not. If it floated,
it's been there a long time. It's saturated. So,
yeah.
I have a question about that too.
What's that?
They always just have why don't they get even a horse trough, bring it over, fill it with water, so some of the larger ones they could find out very quickly.
Yep. Yeah, good point. Yeah, because I showed that on last week's show, that stack. They got a stack of timbers, and they were putting as tags that's what you see. You've seen Terry Matheson over on the table. And he's got, I saw that one day. I saw that stamp set that he had over there. It was my dad had one of those. Matter of fact, I've got it now down in the basement. But it's those, they're stamps. And you hit, the numbers and letters, the alphabet and all that. And you stamp metal with them. You hit it with a hammer. That's what they're using. You've seen them over there smacking on one of them. And they make those stamps and put it on every, not every piece of wood, I would imagine, but any one of significance that they want to have checked out.
Because if it sinks, then you want to get a carbon date on it, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then you'd have a tag identifying each and every one. So probably by the caisson number and the depth, I would think, the caisson and the depth or something like that. Nice watch, huh? Pretty nice watch. There's gold right there. There's your gold.
It's a nice watch for Oak Island.
Yeah, for Oak Island. Yeah, I don't think I'd be digging in the mud with that nice watch right there. But anyway. And then they found this chunk of wood too, and this was a nice little piece. There's actually a neat picture right here that looked like it had a chunk that either a drill bit or maybe even a dowel pin or something. If this was a rotted piece, and that was a dowel that I'd pin, like the one, it's about the right size, is not for that. Maybe it's a little small.
I would say,
yeah, but it looked like it's pretty close.
Yep.
So who knows? But interesting. And this piece, I think, sunk as well when he did the water test on it. I think it also sunk.
Yeah, there was another piece that they tested, I know, that did sink. Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this one sunk. And they were talking about what and this was. Oh, I mean, when Rick handed this thing over to Marty, and it was like it actually, it looked like it must have weighed 10, 12 pounds, this piece right here, or more. But he handed it over to him, and it hit the table when he brought it over. It was that heavy. He wasn't expecting it to weigh that much. But you would look at something like this, and what would you think that would be used for down there, especially if it's old, if it as part of an original tunnel or something?
I mean, it looks like it's cut to length, so I mean,
yeah, it purposely made that size. Now, when I saw it,
for a fit, because as the further down you went, the heavier the weight your wood had to be to hold everything up.
Right. Yeah, it had to be strong to be able to hold some weight or take the weight of something. A spacer, yeah, that's what Kat said. A spacer,
some blocking, yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of the things I thought of. Let me jump to it real quick, and I'll jump back to the pictures here. But something that when I first saw it, now this was before they sunk it in the bucket to see if it would sink, or put it in the bucket to see if it would sink. The first thing I thought was this right here. I was thinking about these. Now, obviously, they're showing a whole, beam right here that these jacks are on, holding this up, and the wall plates and all that kind of structure. But and again, we don't know if this is exactly the way it was done down there underground or not. This is just the way that the guy did the presentation here for it. But I was thinking about something under one of these jack posts, a block. You're going to want it, just like, because working in a garage, you're going to want that heavy hardwood block to be underneath your jack or on top of your jack or whatever. You're going to use it for a strong support. That's what I was thinking. This is when I saw this, I thought, oh, maybe that block is for something for the Hedden, the Hedden shaft, something they would have used in the Hedden shaft. I don't know. That just came to mind. But then it sunk, which would indicate that it was definitely older, right? So, let's see. Let me get back to that picture. So pretty neat, though, I thought, that particular piece. But I don't know. What do you guys think? There's where they put it in the water and it sunk. You can see
scientific method right there.
Yeah, you betcha. Absolutely. You can see a lot of the other pieces of timber they got piled up here in the back. Then they're down. Let's see. I forgot what he found here. Oh, he found a small piece of metal. This is when Gary found that smaller piece of metal and they brought it over. And as they were analyzing it, the very next hammer grab pulls up this right here. And
that small piece of metal he found there, it's sort of semicircular. I think that's probably one of the drill pipes from the earlier drill program. They would put a pipe in the ground, and they would put their drill bit down through the pipe.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. Here is the pretty evident that this was a piece of the shielding that was on the bottom of the Hedden shaft. You see the spikes that they had driven into the beams to hold it in place. You see this piece right here. Was this, part of that? Was it holding it to another piece of metal? It looks like that would be, that would be on the side, not on the bottom or top. But this piece right here would be a side piece, going sideways. It would be a horizontally going across, and maybe that tied it into another piece or something, or a beam. This little piece right
you
here.
look at the length of those spikes. Think of the size of the timber they had to go into.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And they bring it around. Look at the entire size of the whole piece right here. I think it's huge.
And the work that they had to do to get that down there and get it locked in like that.
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
Wow.
So, what does that tell us right there? Definitely the Hedden shaft, right? I mean, Hedden is the only one that, huh?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hedden
And
was
you're
the
at
only one that had
124
mentioned it.
feet. There's no doubt about that now, too.
Right. And that's what, and they were just saying that too. They were just talking about that. Danny comes over and tells the team they're at 113 and the can is at 124. The next scoop, the spoils come out. Rick hands that large block, the very next scoop. And then that seems that it is old. Excuse me. It seems that it's older than the Hedden shaft and it's very heavy. Gary begins to metal detect and finds that little piece of metal. Gary digs out, Peter Fernetti digs out the little piece of metal. And then Gary says he doesn't know what it is. And the next hammer grab brings up this piece right here with the spike sticking out of it.
Wow.
The team feels pretty confidently that it is the shielding from the Hedden shaft, the bottom of the Hedden shaft. So that means they're on target. They know now exactly where the Hedden shaft is. And the Hedden shaft was, right there on the edge of the money pit.
And they still have more to remove from that shaft too, right?
Yes. Yeah. The top of the can is at 156 feet at the top. They were at 150 right there. You see the number. That's why I grab these sometimes, because I want to see what the can says for feet. So 156. So they've hit the point where they have got to the bottom of the Hedden shaft at this point. By the end of the show, they've hit the bottom of the Hedden shaft, but now they need to get a little bit lower and find out, go past that point. Now I do have a picture. This was a picture of next week's show. I caught it in the preview for next week's show, and you saw if you saw what they said about this piece right here. The age of this particular piece of wood, by its appearance, obviously they did not have it tested yet, but by its appearance, it had an age that they were thinking that this is part of the chapel vault. Now we'll see next week what they really, if it truly is or not, or if, or get a better idea. And maybe it's one of those things where Prometheus just tries to lead us on to make us believe that it is, but it truly isn't. We don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
You would figure they'd have to go to at least 160 feet now.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have They have to.
Yeah, most definitely. Footing for a beam. Yeah, I was talking about that square block, a footing for a beam or something like that. Cut that big block open to see if it's holding something inside. Interesting thought. Heavy block of wood may to hold something up. Yeah, exactly. That's what I saw, a support of some type. You're going to want a piece of heavy wood that's not going to crush under pressure and to be able to hold something significantly heavy up. So I'm excited about next week's. I had a feeling they might drag out this particular caisson, seeing as how we pretty sure it's the last one, number 4. So yeah. So is it definitely the last one? Probably. So they're going to stretch it out over a couple episodes. So we'll see next week. What this here piece was. Something I wanted to show. real quick before we call it a night. Let's see if I can find this picture. I have so many files full of pictures here, as you can guess. Let's see. Was the layout of? Let's see if is it in here. Yeah. So they were talking about being on the eastern side. Oh, let me see my notes here. The east side. Yeah, Rick and Charles discussed that they should reach the collapse on the east side of the Hedden shaft. So, let me bring up this one last picture. This is the Hedden shaft right here. Okay, and they're putting the caisson in right over here. So they're looking at this area right here that they were coming down on the eastern edge of the Hedden shaft. Now, if this is laid out north, south, east to west, so it'd be hidden on this side right here as they're putting in. So, assuming that the chapel and here's the chapel shaft, here's the Hedden shaft. So, how close are they to the money pit? If they know exactly that they've hit the eastern side of the Hedden shaft, that gives them a pretty good idea of exactly where they are, and then they would have to do their measurements and calculations to find out exactly where the money pit is based upon that. So, kind of an interesting DMT2. I forgot exactly which was it on DE. I thought they said it was DE11. Is what they were saying. Was that? Did I get that right? It was on my last week's notes. That they were going down DE11. So, but I'm pretty intrigued.
If they find the vault, are they centered enough to bring it up? Is the next question.
And is the vault too big to be brought up like that? I don't know.
We know 7 feet down for height. I have never heard of how far across. I would think anything after 7 feet would be tough. To get a good grab on it, I would think.
Yep. Absolutely. I don't think it's big enough, or I don't think it's small enough to pull up through the 10 foot caisson.
And if that caisson hits it with those teeth, it's going to go right through it anyway.
Oh yeah, because that wood. I mean, you saw that piece of wood. If that piece of wood is from the chapel vault, that means it's already compromised. Because you saw how deteriorated that piece of wood was.
Well, it was compromised when the drill went through it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The drill pit.
And now it's just had more water and everything going into it this whole time, water and mud.
And if that caisson cut that 1/4 inch steel, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So is it a salvage operation at this point? Are we just trying to salvage the treasure or whatever's there?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think they're going to find it intact.
If that caisson goes through it,
a bigger hammer grab to get a hold of that thing.
If that caisson cuts through something, then yeah, John, I think it is a salvage.
Yep. And any parchments are done. Anything that was protected is done. If parchments were in mercury, that's done.
Unless they're packaged, individually within a chamber.
Right.
You might ruin some, might save some.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And here's one. I got this one too. I just brought this up. This is where the caisson, the 10-footers went in right here. And here's the edge of the Hedden shaft. So they were following down the eastern. And I think that's what Peter said too, is he was talking about that going right along as they were skimming along the side of the Hedden shaft.
Yeah.
Right here with this. This is where the green one is showing where it is. So, yeah. So it's right north of OC1, which they figure that one went right down along the Hedden shaft. So, but it's interesting to see what they're going to pull up. If that, like I said, if that's part of that piece of wood that they brought up, if that's part of the chapel vault, it's probably, and if the hammer, and if they put that caisson on top of it before, and the very first picture I showed where they showed the caisson come on the smaller one and pushed it down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they probably crushed it. They probably didn't push it down. They probably just finished smashing it.
Yeah.
They might have crushed it, or they might have, just like they say, pushed it off into a softer section or a void section.
Yep.
Into that rolling mud or whatever. I can't remember what they call it right now.
solution channel.
It's like
The solution channel. Yeah. And that's another thing that I thought about. If that caisson, if that the bottom, the bit one, the one with the teeth on it, if that thing can cut through that metal, then why can't it cut through that bedrock? Yeah, I'm still, I got to ask Ian Spooner when we have Ian Spooner on the show. I'm going to ask him about that because they keep talking about.
If you cut into that solid bedrock, you're just creating a great big plug.
Yeah,
because the hammer grab can't get it.
You're gonna have to smash it, and whatever's beneath it or underneath it's gonna get crushed anyway.
All right, so drill down into it and then drop some dynamite in the hole. No, don't. I'm just teasing. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're going to cut out a plug, just like when you cut a hole saw and you cut through a block of wood with a hole saw. You end up with that plug stuck in the hole saw that you got to get out. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Did you guys see that that picture that somebody had put on the Facebook group? It was a picture of somebody had made. It looked like they made what they thought the money pit looked like underground.
3D model of the money pit.
I forget who that was, but that was pretty ingenious. I mean, it had these plastic tubes coming down, clear plastic tubes coming down, the ones that hit the bedrock and stopped at 150 feet or so, right? And then it had some of the ones that we know went deeper than that, like C1, and they went all the way down. So it had those going down, and it showed all of these. It was really quite a thing. I don't have it. If I could find it, I show you guys a picture of it. But if you haven't seen it, it was this, and this person made it, and it really kind of looked like, because we talk about how some of the caissons went deeper, some of the drill bits went deeper. C1 for one went deeper, and it found a void down below. H8 I think went down deeper, did it not? So did it miss? Is the level of the bedrock change? Is it all one level here, but over here it drops down further, which is what this person that made this thing was speculating about. I wish I could find a picture of that. I'd bring it up and show you guys, but it was really quite an ingenious Linda sent
the depth of the bedrock different in other areas where you can get through it easier.
Oh, was that Jim? Was that you that did that one? Jim, it said, Linda, send Jeff that pic, please.
The 3D model even had the circular tunnel that was done in
it was
1864.
Quite a thing. I had never seen anything quite like it before. That this was it. Oh, Jim said said no. I asked if it was Jim that made that, but he said no. But anyway, it was just really, really cool to see that thing, and I wondered just how they came up with that particular thing. I just want to say, he wants to see it. That's what it was. It was, like I said, it was in our Facebook group, and I if you guys want to talk for a minute, I'll look for it. But let's see. I don't know how far I would have to go down to find it, but maybe it's in our pictures. I don't want to waste too much time hunting here, folks, but it was really kind of neat. And media, let me see if it's in the media files.
Where they're at now in the money pit now.
I found it.
Get it? Find it? Okay.
Yeah, I found it. Let me go full screen here. All right, now let me bring this up. I found it. It wasn't that hard. Cool. Okay, I got to cancel my remove, share, and let's see, stop. Okay, so share screen. Oh, it's not. Hold on. I got to download it. That ain't going to work. I always forget that it does that sorry. I got to download the picture. See if I can. Let's see if I can grab it here.
I was going to say, it's impressive that he even had in there the circular tunnel that was done. That I had written the wrong date down. It was 1863 that they dug that circular tunnel trying to intercept the different shafts and flood tunnels.
Okay, let me see if I can get this here.
Linda may have sent it, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, Linda's got it. Sent it to you in chat there.
Okay, here it is right here.
There you go.
Okay, so it looks, you see quite a thing going on here, but this is really pretty cool. And I'm sorry, Linda, if you could tell me who made this, I want to give credit. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about right there. And I want to give credit for the person that created this thing. But check this out, folks. Okay, so here's the bedrock. Okay, and these tubes back here you see are the tubes that hit the top of it and stopped at 150 feet or so, right? And I don't know what this
Jeff,
is.
can you blow the picture up?
Yeah.
We're kind of seeing all your pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
yep.
sorry. I got it.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry about that. I'm over here talking away, and I got the
Yeah,
wrong
yeah,
one
yeah.
showing. Thank you. Sorry about that. Let's do this one. All right, there we go.
There we are.
Sorry
you
about
go.
that. Yeah, I'm looking over here at my screen thinking that's what you guys are seeing. Sorry about that. Okay, so okay. All right. So anyway, so here's the bedrock showing around the edges. And the flood tunnel to the south shore still not discovered, probably 47 meters. And showing the different things that were found, the European bones that were found down there, 1678 and 1764. The grid drilling, 51 by the Laginas, oscillator. Now this is I can't tell the pottery that was found way down here. So, but my point of this whole thing was that whoever created this had got an idea of where every one of the drills had gone and how deep they had gone and how some of them went much deeper. And this is what I was talking about last week about the fact that some of them stop about 150, but we know some of them like C1 and H8 went much deeper than that. Now, how could they have gone much deeper if this whole area is bedrock at 150 feet? So that was what was disturbing me. Now, this person is saying that the bedrock is over here, but when you move to this side of it, you're missing it. So that would be to the southwest of where they're drilling right now, where they keep hitting it. So it's interesting to see this. There's like a pit, maybe. I just thought this was kind of, it really is kind of amazing that whoever did this, and again, this is the picture, Linda. So I'm just, I want to, I don't know where, I don't know who created this thing. Let's see if I can. It looks like it might be. Is it Rudy Raspel?
Yeah, Rudy was the first name, I think. Yeah.
Okay, Rudy Raspel. I think Rudy made this thing, or showed the picture of it anyway. But anyway, so I thought it was really neat, and it's talking about the solution. Here's the spiral tunnel from Chapel and the different tunnels that were done. The Chapel vault. I mean, just really kind of cool. And then you see some of this wood. It looks like the wood. These are some of the tunnels or shafts that were put in. So anyway, I just thought this was pretty cool. Whoever did a lot of effort to make this thing to kind of give us an idea of what it may look like down there underground and what they found in each one of these, one of these tubes or whatever, or drills.
A lot of work.
Jim Barlow asked a question. What are the numbers on the silver? What's that? The silver
Over
pole?
here?
I think that's meters.
That's meters,
Oh,
I think. Yeah.
I think it's
that would
meters
have to
because
be
that would
meters.
correspond with the 150 feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because some of these, 51. Yeah, it's all done in meters. 51
Yeah,
meters.
All metric. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's meters.
43 meters. Yeah, definitely. Chapel vault probably 43 to 49 meters. A void at 43 meters. But just really cool. And each one of these plastic tubes up here are one of the caissons that they put down.
That's really cool.
It is, and it's a lot of work to come up with
It
something
is.
like that. I'd like to see a larger picture of the entire thing. Whoever, if that was Rudy that made this, I'd like to see the entire thing. Showing all the shafts that were made, all this wood up here on the top. But this was really cool. I thought that was neat too. Somebody went to a lot of trouble to make something like this. It's like that you see that Brenda Dixon go through all the work she does to keep track of all the members of our 25,800 and some odd members of our group, to keep track of where they're all from.
That is amazing.
It's truly amazing. A lot of work that she puts through for that, for sure. Anyway, so that pretty much wraps it up for me. Do you guys have any last minute thoughts about last night's episode?
I'm good. I think we're onto something.
I think so too.
I want to get to the bottom of this caisson and find out where we're going.
Yep, I do too. And you see that the look on their faces, not only from this one to find the metal that they were hoping to find, and they did. But then you see the look on their faces in the episode, the preview from next week's episode of them pulling up what appears to be old wood that appears, and they at least Prometheus made us think that it was from the chapel vault.
Well, I think it was Marty that said that's the chapel vault, didn't he? Was it Marty?
Yeah, he did.
Now
I
we know
imagine
sometimes they
Dr.
take.
I would imagine Dr. Spoonerfield is a little bit more vindicated right now, I should say, maybe also. You know, he's the one that kept saying the last year at the end, you know, do you believe there's treasure down there?
Yeah.
Well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he was, yeah. Yep.
And what did Charles say the other night? You just haven't found it yet.
Yes. Yet. Exactly. And which brings up the good point that if it is, in fact, like this guy's work here shows that they were hitting bedrock over there, then it would be where the bedrock is not, or is at least much deeper, or where they could get down deeper. So, yeah, they look pretty happy. I thought they all looked pretty happy about what they were finding next week. So, it really is. Get him on this show.
Get him this show.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking up at the guy's picture here. I don't know if this is the guy that made it, but yeah, go look for that. It's in our media. If you go out to the Facebook, the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Facebook page, if you are a member, and you can be a member, it's a private group, but you can just request to be a member, and we do vet as best we can. We vet everybody. I should say we. Linda and Jan and Tom do all the work on that, and Henry. They do all the work on vetting everybody, but you get vetted and you get allowed to come into the group. And then you can go see this for yourself because it's in there. It's in our media page.
You can just posted in the last couple of days.
Yeah, and that's where I found it. Yeah. I just went to the media link and I saw the picture and boom, there it was. So a lot of good information. We have, I tell you, the members we have in our Facebook group are the best. We have such very intelligent and people that think outside the box, quite honestly, and come up with some great stuff. They really do. And this is just proof of that right here, that somebody went through all this work to make that thing. But I really want to see a bigger picture of it. But anyway, I am also very excited about next week's show. I think that we're going to see something really cool at the end of this. And again, what else are they going to be showing us before the end of the season? Are we going to see some information about the Muon technology that's going on? The setting of that up, but we still haven't seen the big hole that they drilled. And Colin and I were talking about this down in Smith's Cove. They drilled a big hole down there. We saw there was a pump pumping water out of this from his pictures, and there was a big pile of dirt around it, and the drill rig was down there. We haven't seen anything on that this season.
We know they find enough information or artifacts to go back and spend millions of dollars this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You're not, if the show was over, if the hunt was over, you wouldn't be back there spending millions of dollars.
Nope. Exactly. Yep. You're exactly.
You know, the one by Smith's Cove, I keep going back to that. They found that tunnel there about 3 years ago at the end of the year, and they couldn't go in it. They had to fill it in because it wasn't done right. I wonder if that's the spot.
Yeah, maybe an offshoot of that, but you're right. Yeah, that's the one that Rick Lagina got into the bucket of the excavator.
Into the bucket, it goes that way.
That's what Marty goes. Right. He goes, I don't know what it is, but it goes that way. Yeah. So we don't know. It's like, and it was a tunnel. I mean, they put the camera on the excavator.
There was a lot of wood down there and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. That. What did Patrick Richardson say there? My buddy bet me a bottle of whiskey that they would quit this season or find nothing. I think I am going to get me a bottle of whiskey.
That's awesome.
That's really, that's good. You're probably gonna get that, I think.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, so we want to see what they're doing down in Smith's Cove. So there's still some stuff to show us, and they're going to show us right at the end of the season here, I think, and leave a cliffhanger again, right, for season 10.
Yep.
Obviously now we know it's April and we know they get started on the island in April. The filming, I don't think has started yet. But there's people on the island working already. Heck, Rick Lagina was spotted. Would he quit? No. Rick Lagina quit? Nonsense.
No.
Exactly, Amy. I
No.
agree. Rick would keep going. He doesn't care about the cameras. I don't.
Rick is not going to stop until he figures out the story.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. He is going to keep going until he gets an answer. Till he gets the one thing that tells him who, what, why, when, and where. And he's going to have at it. So, and I'll tell you what, we'll be there. We'll be there. This show will be there, sticking with him until the very end. And he gets more researchers on the island and more people giving him information. We're going to be right there trying to gather it all in and then get those guys on our women, men, whoever they might be, get them on the show so they can tell their story right here and give us more information because I'm not quitting. If they're not going to quit, I'm not going to quit. So we're going to keep at it.
Well,
All right.
around.
Yep, we will be around. All right, folks. Thank you so much for being here tonight and watching with us. And of course, for all the wonderful chat that you guys have done. 239 comments just on the Facebook side. And I don't even know how many on the YouTube side, but you guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you like the content of the show and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button for us. We really appreciate that. It does help us out with the whole thing with YouTube. And be here on Saturday for the tours, the Oak Island Tours show, showing the pictures and talking with the people that have seen tours. And Sunday night with John and I for Beyond Our World, the Shag Harbor UFO incident. And then Christian Roper coming on. He's down in Guatemala, and he's got some great stuff to talk to us about. So be here for that Sunday night at 7:00. We'll see you next time, guys. John, Jack, Tom, thank you so much again for being here and providing your great content. Love it. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a good rest of your week. We will see you
folks.
Saturday.
Good night.
Bye-bye now.